we're diving into a really interesting situation developing in the NFL, specifically with Buffalo Bills running back James Cook and what he's hoping to get paid as he heads into the final year of his rookie contract.
Yeah, it's definitely turning some heads around the league, especially with how running back contracts have been going lately.
He's not being shy about what he wants either, is he? He's put it out there that he wants to be paid like one of the top running backs in the league, something like $15 million a year.
That's a lot of money. And if he got it, he'd be the second highest paid running back, only behind Christian McCaffrey at $19 million per year.
Think about that for a second. That would put him above guys like Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, and Alvin Kamara, all guys who've been in the league longer than Cook.
And it's not like this is coming out of nowhere. Cook is coming off 2 amazing seasons with back-to-back 1,000-yard performances. He's proven how valuable he is to the Bills.
Oh yeah, he was a touchdown machine in 2024, tying for the league lead with 16 rushing touchdowns. And he averaged 4.9 yards a carry, which was 5th among all running backs with a decent workload.
That's the thing. It's not just about volume with him. It's that efficiency. He's consistently getting those yards, breaking tackles, and making the most of his carries. That kind of production is hard to find, and it definitely strengthens his case for a big contract.
But it's not quite that simple, is it? The Bills did use a kind of committee approach with their running backs last year, giving a good number of carries to rookie Ray Davis as well.
Exactly. So the Bills have to think about their strategy. Are they going to have a system where one running back gets most of the touches, making a big contract make more sense, or are they leaning towards a more shared workload approach, which might make a huge contract for one guy seem like too much?
Especially because they also have the franchise tag option for 2026, which is going to be around $15 million too.
Yeah, the franchise tag is a big tool teams have. Basically, it lets them keep a player for an extra year at a set price. It buys them some time, but it can also lead to some tension with the player who's usually looking for a long-term deal.
So the Bills have to weigh it all out. Do they give Cook what he wants now or risk upsetting him and maybe even losing him in the future?
It's a balancing act for sure. Remember, what a player asks for at the beginning and what they end up with are often very different. This is just the first step in what could be a long and complicated negotiation.
Absolutely. But even just this initial ask shows us how much Cook believes in himself and how he sees his role with the Bills. He's basically betting on himself, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Bills react.
Yeah, it's a big decision for them. Do they see Cook as a crucial part of their offense, someone worth paying top dollar? Or will they try to negotiate a better deal and risk losing a player who's been key to their success? It's a tough call, and it could impact more than just James Cook and the Buffalo Bills.
Definitely. This could set a precedent for other running back contracts, especially younger guys who are playing really well.
It makes you wonder, are we seeing a change in how running backs are valued, even though the passing game is so important these days? Or is this just a unique situation specific to Cook and what the Bills need? It's something we'll keep looking at in part 2, so stick around for that. So we know what Cook wants, but the Bills have a lot to think about here.
Yeah, they've got to look at his performance, how much money they have to spend, their long-term plans, and even how much running backs are worth in the NFL right now. It's not an easy decision.
Let's break down what they could do. One option is to just give Cook what he wants, that $15 million a year. It would show they're really serious about him being a core part of their team.
Sure, the fans would love that, and it solidifies their offense, but what are the downsides of spending that much on one guy?
Well, the biggest worry is the salary cap. The limit on how much teams can spend on players. Giving that much to one player means less money to fill other spots on the team.
It's kind of like a puzzle, isn't it? You fix one part and another part might break.
Exactly. If they sign Cook to that deal, it might be hard to keep other important players or sign new ones to address weaknesses. They'd have to be super careful with their money.
And don't forget about Ray Davis, their rookie running back who did pretty well last season. If they give Cook that big contract, Davis might not get as many chances to play and develop.
It's a tough spot for teams figuring out how to keep the good players they have while also making sure younger players have a chance to grow.
So what if they decide not to give Cook the full $15 million?
Yeah.
What else could they do?
They could try to negotiate, see if Cook would take a little less to stay in Buffalo, maybe a slightly smaller salary, but with bonuses if he hits certain goals.
That seems fair, but what if he's really set on that $15 million? Things could get ugly if the negotiations fall apart.
Oh, for sure. They could end up upsetting him, and he might demand a trade or refuse to play. And even if they do agree on a lower amount, there's no guarantee he'll keep playing as well if he feels like he had to settle.
And then we have the franchise tag we talked about earlier. They could use that to keep Cook for one more year at a set price. It gives them more time to figure things out.
Right. The franchise tag is tricky. It gives them control now, but not in the long run. And it can feel disrespectful to the player, which could cause problems.
It also doesn't really solve the contract problem. They'll be right back in the same spot next year.
Yeah, it's just putting off the decision. equation.
So we've talked about paying him, negotiating a different deal, and using the franchise tag. What if the Bills just decide to let Cook go?
That's a risky move. They could try trading him to another team to get something in return.
But finding a team willing to pay what the Bills want and what Cook wants could be really hard.
Or they could let him become a free agent, meaning he can sign with any team he wants.
That would leave a big hole in their offense. They'd be relying a lot on Ray Davis to become their main running back.
Yeah. And they'd have to deal with fans who see Cook as a big reason for the team's recent success. It's a gamble for sure, especially if Davis isn't ready or if they can't find someone else to replace Cook.
So the Bills have some tough choices to make, each with its own pros and cons.
They have to consider their budget, their game plan, and the overall state of the running back position in the league. Let's talk more about that and what Cook's contract demands could mean for the NFL as a whole in our last segment.
So we've looked at what the Bills can do, but this whole situation really makes you think about how much running backs are valued in the NFL these days.
Yeah, it's a question that's been around for a while now, hasn't it? It seems like teams are getting more hesitant to spend a lot of money on running backs.
Right, they're going with committees more often or focusing on other positions.
The thinking is that running backs don't last as long as quarterbacks or wide receivers, and you can get similar production from a group of cheaper players.
And there are definitely examples of that. Teams have had success with running back committees, spreading out the work and making sure nobody gets too tired or injured.
Exactly.
So where does James Cook fit into all of this? He's young, he's talented, and he's coming off 2 great seasons. He's saying he's not just another guy you can easily replace.
He's definitely challenging that idea with his contract demands. He's saying his talent and what he's done on the field are worth a big investment, even if running backs aren't seen as valuable as they used to be.
It's a gamble for sure. If he gets that $15 million a year, it could change things for other running backs too. Other top guys, especially younger ones, might start asking for similar deals.
It would be a big shift. It would show that even though running backs are being used differently now, elite talent and proven results are still worth a lot of money.
But it's also possible that Cook's situation is unique.
Yeah, maybe the Bills rely on him more than other teams rely on their running backs. Maybe their offense is built around what he does best. Or maybe they're just more willing to take a chance on a running back.
And if he doesn't get that big contract, if the Bills talk him down or let him go, it might show that running backs really are becoming less important.
It would say that teams are more interested in saving money and being flexible than having a star running back.
So this whole thing with James Cook is about more than just one player in one team.
It shows us how the NFL is changing, how the running back position is evolving, and how teams are trying to build winning rosters with all these different factors to consider.
It reminds us that the NFL is a business, not just a game. Players want to get paid, but teams have to be smart about how they spend their money. Well, that's it for our look at James Cook's contract situation and what it could mean for the NFL. We'll definitely keep an eye on this story and let you know what happens. Thanks for joining us.